You don't recognize him right away. He doesn't have blood on his hands or shadows under his eyes. He speaks with warmth, smiles when appropriate, and nods as if he's listening. You might even feel safe around him. That's the point. Sadism doesn't walk into the room snarling. It walks in dressed like someone who cares. It starts early. In childhood, maybe. When pleasure and pain cross wires. When a child pulls the wings off an insect and watches not with cruelty, but with fascination. Not horror, not guilt, just curiosity. And then something more. There's a chill that runs through the bones of those who see it. The parent who catches their child smiling at a struggling animal. The teacher who notices how one student lingers too long in front of a crying classmate. They don't want to believe it, so they look away. But in the child's brain, something is settling. A connection, an association, a secret joy born not from chaos but from control. Not from violence but from watching someone else lose their power. And the world, unaware, keeps shaping him. Disappointments, humiliations, rejections, each one etching into the brain the belief, you will never feel strong until someone else feels weak. That's when it mutates, not into a monster, but into something worse, a charming, functioning adult. He knows how to talk. He knows how to blend in. He's learned that real sadism isn't about chaos. It's about theater. He can be the perfect boyfriend, the reliable coworker, the polite neighbor. He offers help. He makes eye contact. He builds trust. Because trust is the most exquisite ingredient in cruelty. Without it, pain is meaningless. But with it, he can shatter someone's mind with just a word. You don't understand the ritual until it's too late. Because it doesn't start with a scream. It starts with a gesture, a delayed reply, a gaze that lingers half a second too long, a smile that disappears just before you can mirror it. You think it's nothing, just tension, just miscommunication. But he's already taking notes. In his mind, every reaction you give is a map. Every flinch, every pause, every hesitation tells him something about you. A sadist doesn't crave violence. He craves precision. He wants to know what makes you twitch, not just bleed. He isn't rushing toward destruction. He's building a cathedral out of your fears. And you start to feel it. Not immediately, but gradually. You notice that you laugh less when he's around, that you second guess yourself more. You start rewriting your own memories. Maybe I was overreacting. Maybe he's right. I do talk too much. Maybe this is what love feels like when you're difficult to love. But this isn't love. This is psychological architecture. He's rearranging the furniture of your mind, little by little, until you can't remember where the light switches are. And every time you adjust to the darkness, he dims it further. It's not random. It's never random. He'll give you just enough warmth to believe he's still human. A sweet word, a sudden compliment, a night where he holds you like nothing's broken. And for a moment, you believe it's fixed. You believe you're safe again. But the sadist smiles at your relief. Because that's the moment he's been waiting for. When your walls are down, that's when the real game begins. Control, for him, isn't just about dominance. It's about intimacy. It's about stepping inside your perception and changing the rules. He studies your patterns. He creates tension, then release, then tension again, like an orchestra playing only for him. And the pain is tailored. It's not about hitting you, it's about making you hit yourself. It's about feeding you just enough self-doubt to watch you crumble on your own. You apologize more. You smile through discomfort. You feel lucky to be chosen. Even when you're hurting, you defend him. That's how deep the hook is. You don't even see the strings anymore. You think you're dancing, but he's the one pulling your limbs. He doesn't have to raise his voice. He doesn't have to touch you. Sometimes all he has to do is watch you suffer. And for him, that's enough. Because it isn't about violence. It's about watching something break and knowing he was the one who bent it just right. And when he's finished, he might not even leave. He might stay, hold you while you cry, wipe your tears and say, "You're too sensitive. That's why you keep getting hurt." And you'll believe him. Because that's the masterpiece he's been sculpting all along. Not your pain, but your willingness to blame yourself for it. It's not what he does to you that breaks you. It's how he does it with love. Not fake love. Not a performance. But a carefully calculated tenderness, real enough to confuse you, soft enough to disarm you, strategic enough to own you. Because when a sadist holds you, it's not to comfort, it's to study, to feel how your body tenses when you lie, to measure the rhythm of your heartbeat when you're scared, to test whether you'll lean in even after the last time nearly destroyed you, and you will. That's what makes you his perfect subject. You don't trust him, not fully, but you don't trust yourself anymore either. And in that void, he plants something new, dependency. You stop asking, "Why does this hurt?" and start asking, "What did I do wrong?" This is how the sadist wins. Not with cruelty, but with rewiring. You start to crave the very person who shatters you, because he becomes the only one who understands the shape of your cracks. He knows when you'll break before you do, and sometimes she'll save you from it, right before you hit the floor, and you'll thank him for it. You'll cry in his arms and whisper, "I don't know what I'd do without you." And that sentence, that exact moment, is the high he lives for, because now your pain is no longer yours. It's his to control, to induce, to soothe, to withhold. He doesn't need a whip. He has your shame. He has your hope. He has your instinct to survive, even if it means crawling back to the man who's drowning you. And this is where his pleasure multiplies. You've become dependent on the damage. You defend him to your friends. You isolate. You romanticize the scars. You call it passion when it's trauma. But somewhere inside you, a part of you still screams, still wants to run, still knows the truth. And he hears that voice too. He wants it there. Because if you ever stop resisting entirely, if you ever go fully numb, he loses his reflection in your agony. You are the mirror, and he wants to see the fear in your eyes when he smiles. Because the true sadist doesn't just want to break you. He wants you to know you're breaking. He wants you to be while believing it's love. He wants to be the one you trust, more than your own instincts. And when he finally lets go, if he ever does, it leaves you hollow. Not because he took your soul, but because he convinced you that you never had one worth saving. He doesn't slam the door. He doesn't scream. He doesn't even disappear suddenly. That would give you clarity, a point where the pain begins, a sharp edge you could maybe heal from. But a sadist knows true destruction comes from silence, from a fade out, from making you believe you were the one who pulled away. And so, he lets you go gently. He becomes distant but sweet. He answers your messages, but slower. He still smiles, but colder. He still touches you, but it doesn't reach in anymore. And because you're addicted to the highs and lows, you don't recognize the absence as abuse. You see it as your fault. You panic thinking maybe you've changed. Maybe you've become boring, unlovable, not enough. You offer more of yourself, more time, more forgiveness, more intimacy. You dig out secrets you didn't want to share, hoping to re-spark the intensity. But he's already moved on, not to another person, but to the next experiment, because in his mind, he's finished with you. You're no longer reactive enough, no longer interesting, no longer capable of reflecting the pain he needs to see. So he starts planting doubt. He rewrites the past in subtle ways. It wasn't like that. You're remembering it wrong. You're being too emotional. And slowly, your memories distort. Your sense of truth fractures. You become unsure if he ever hurt you at all, or if it was always just you. This is the final cruelty. He doesn't just break your heart. He breaks your memory. He poisons your narrative. You rots your self-concept from the inside out until one day you look in the mirror and see someone you don't recognize, someone desperate, paranoid, ashamed of how far they fell. And here's the worst part. Even when he's gone, he's not gone. His voice lingers inside you. It echoes when you're alone. It whispers in the spaces that used to feel safe. You hear it when someone new tries to get close, and you flinch, expecting the slap behind the smile. You sabotage real love because it feels alien. It doesn't hurt the right way. You chase new versions of him, different faces, same pattern, not because you want to suffer, but because your nervous system now needs the chaos to feel alive. That's what the sadist has done. He's turned your trauma into a template. He's carved his methods into your brain's pathways. So even in his absence, you walk through the world expecting cruelty and shaping yourself to survive it. And healing? It's not just forgetting him. It's unlearning the way he taught you to breathe, the way he made you believe that love feels like a slow execution. That intimacy means always being watched, always being judged, always being on the edge of pain. You don't just lose the relationship, you lose your compass. And until you reclaim it, you'll keep mistaking the voice of your abuser for the voice of your own worth. Because that's how a sadist wins. Not with blood, not with bruises, but by planting himself inside your identity and waiting for you to keep him alive. You think it's over. You think walking away means freedom. You block the number, burn the photos, delete the chats. You even cry about it in front of someone who cares. And they hold your hand like that means it's healed. But that's not how this ends. Not with a clean break, because what he did to you, it restructured you. From the inside, in the most terrifying part, you don't just carry the pain. You carry him. Not his name, not his face, but his habits, his shadows, his way of analyzing people, his need to stay in control. You begin noticing it in small things. You ask questions, but not to connect, to assess. You compliment people, but only to disarm them. You start to withhold just enough attention to see if they'll beg for more. And when they do, you feel something. Not love, not safety, but power. And it feels like relief. Because being the one in control is the only place where you don't feel afraid. You don't hurt people on purpose. You just don't trust them with your softness anymore. So you give them a version of yourself that's always half frozen, not cruel, but unreachable. And some part of you knows it. Some part of you whispers, this isn't who you are. But another part whispers louder, this is how you survive. Because after being dismantled by someone who fed on your vulnerability, you learn that feeling nothing hurts less than being torn open again. So your relationships become distorted mirrors. You attract people who are soft, kind, generous, naive, and instead of loving them, you test them. You push them. You watch them squirm when you go cold. Not because you want them to hurt, but because deep down, you need to know if someone else can survive what you did, what he did to you. And maybe if they can, then maybe it means you weren't that weak. Maybe it means it wasn't that bad. Maybe it means you were always fine. But here's the truth. You're not fine, and you won't be until you stop reenacting the pain, until you stop turning into the echo of the man who broke you. Because that's what happens when a sadist succeeds. He doesn't just destroy you. He builds a new version of himself inside you. And that version walks around wearing your skin, pretending it's protection, when it's really just trauma masquerading as strength. But the cycle can stop. Not with revenge, not with numbness, with recognition, with the courage to feel again, to risk softness, to choose kindness, even when it terrifies you. You don't beat a sadist by becoming one. You beat him by refusing to let your pain dictate who you are becoming. Not forever, not anymore.